All right, everybody. Let's let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a visitor. Oh, sir, would you stand up? Give us your name, and if you've got something you'd like to discuss, let us know. We have a microphone for you. So.
All right, back to the microphone. I'm John Hudak. I'm on the ballot for the POA board. I'm just trying to actually kind of make as many meetings as I can to learn what's going on and see what's happening, so I can get a better feel as to what's happening when all the questions start fixing to get impaled with, I guess. We'll see. But it's nice to meet the folks that I've been here with, but that's who I am.
All right, thank you very much. Hopefully you won't get impaled, but... Yeah, thanks for attending. We really appreciate it. You have an opportunity to see what we do here. First of all, let's go ahead and straight to the amenities. We don't have a lot of current business, so to speak, so we're going to roll and spend most of our time on new business, and we should be out relatively early. So, Debbie, I want to start with you.
Branchwood, the swimming pool is up and running, and it looks great. It really does. And the ceiling, you did the ceiling and everything in there, didn't you? Yeah, no, it looks really good, Jessica. I have not walked the trail in the last month, so I don't know. I would assume the trail's in good shape.
Yeah, Trey walked it a couple of weeks.
Okay, good.
He said it was looking good.
Yeah, no, and everything.
About a week ago.
Did you? Okay, no, it looks good. The only thing I would say, I guess that it's a concern after March 1st, it'll be interesting to see because the classes in the morning are so full with the pool. Then I'm wondering if there's going to be a need for a second class or whatever. I don't know. But I do know that there's a ton of people in the pool.
Yeah, I think, I think we're all wondering that. So, just going to have to see. It's a problem, but a good one, hopefully, if we have it. And if we need more classes, we'll have to go that route.
Yeah.
We're not going to panic, but we're already thinking about that. We got to get through at least the first month
Sure.
to see what happens. And as you know, we've added classes at Branchwood already. We've doubled up one of the most popular water fitness classes. But
Okay.
yeah, we're definitely thinking about what needs to be done. Yeah, exactly. That's
Well,
it,
and
Jackie.
Silver Sneakers is another one, the chair yoga. They're not totally maxed out, but they definitely, that would be something that might also pick up. So, anyway, and then lastly, before we leave today, I would love to know an explanation of how the Silver Sneakers is going to fit into the enrollment. I'm not saying this right. I understand the Silver Sneakers classes are not going to be included as free under the photo ID. And I guess I would love to have a clear understanding that all of us would have for that. And we can do it now or we can do it later. Doesn't matter.
You want to do that during my report?
Okay, good. Okay, I'm done.
Thanks, Debbie. Ken, Tyree.
Park. Everything's going fine. Really not much change there during the winter. Not much use. That's about it.
Jackie.
I don't know. There we go.
There we go.
So I didn't do an amenity report, so I thought I'd just do the notes so I can attach mine at the end of that when I turn them in, so that'll be the deal. Basically, I did not go to the RV park this month. I didn't get over there. I live on Lake Ann. Didn't really see anybody on Lake Ann other than the lake goes up and it goes down, and that went back up. So there's been a lot of questions about that from somebody posted. I mentioned, sent you an email, but somebody set up a Lake Ann living in Lake Ann group or something like that, and there's been a few questions about the lake on that, and my response is, I guess, to kind of look at the minutes and the meetings on the web for the Lakes Committee to stay abreast. I don't know another way, unless there's another better way for them to stay up with what the plan is. But anyway, not much activity other than the water level.
Mary.
The tennis Okay. Well, the tennis complex, yeah. There. The tennis complex, there's no concerns. Reardon Hall's doing well. We're getting 2 new treadmills. They should be delivered on Wednesday. The snooker players are very happy because in May it's budgeted to have one of the tables refelted. And so they're pretty excited about that. I talked to a lot of the people who use the facility, and they said really any concerns they have are addressed by Kathy almost immediately. So they're very happy with the staff there. The spring bazaar is scheduled, the date is going to be April 18th. And the playground looked good. They're putting the wood chips around the trees, and it looks really nice. That's it.
Thank you. Jan?
The Loch Lomond Park looks great. The fence has been repaired, the posts have been replaced where necessary, and the chain link is back up. And when I was down there on Saturday afternoon, there were about 15 8, 9, 10-year-old kids playing baseball with some parents and coaches, which was good to see. The big dog park, as we expected, is pretty muddy. Had a gentleman who said that they split the park, and I told him, as we discussed at last meeting, that at this point had been suggested wasn't feasible at this time. But he also said, wouldn't it be nice to leave the small dog park as it is now, put a couple of benches, and let people just watch the water? He said it's so relaxing, and he loves the view. And I said I will pass that along, and thanked him for his suggestion, you know. But that is a moot point at this point because the small dog park isn't planning on being rebuilt currently anyway. A lot of walkers enjoying a nice day that day, and I've noticed more foot traffic down there as I drive by and go by, that, you know, as the weather breaks and everything. So other than that, everything looks great, of course, considering what that park has been through in the last 6 months. So anyway, thank you guys. You do a good job.
Thank you. From a gun range perspective, this last weekend we had 2 pistol classes. Well, I guess Saturday was pretty full. And, or Sunday was as well? Okay. All right. And things look good. I know in March we've already got 3 pistol classes lined up. And from what John told me, February could be our best February ever. Simply because, I mean, you said even January, although it was slow, it's probably because of weather, and missed out on 2 days. So it's up and coming. I mean, it's more people to find out about it and use the place. It's growing.
What was it, like 44 today, and 6 people came in and rented a key. And I was like, geez, that's when it drops below 50, it gets pretty dead. I mean, as far as I see, but I mean, they were out there.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's the gun ranges. And Val's not here once again. She's still recuperating. So let's go to Steve.
Yeah, Tenured Creek and Lake Avalon Beach, tenured first. Also, even in inclement weather. Today wasn't a beautiful day, but there were still a half a dozen cars in the parking lot there. So people are using the Tenured Creek area pretty frequently. One of the things I've noted and kind of add to the to-do list is the pavement area from the parking lot into the Tenured Creek area. The asphalt there has gotten real choppy and potholed and rutted. I included some pics. They don't print very well, but you might get a little bit of the idea. So just wanted to add that to the list. I don't know who owns that responsibility to patch that or repair that, but it's getting to the point where it really is going to need some work at some point in the near future. Over to Avalon Beach, obviously the beach proper is closed for the season, as are the bathrooms there. All else is in pretty good shape. I mentioned the new bridge that's over there by the parking lot. Was over there again today and kind of noticed that on either end of the bridge it's really muddy, and I don't know if the trail team might have some gravel that they could put there. It would kind of clean up a messy entrance and exit for the bridge. So I've added that to the list as well. The zip lines, I'm committed to testing that biannually. I did some testing with my daughter a week or so ago. Zip lines are in really good shape, all good. So everything's working well there.
You do it or your daughter?
We both. We race together. Yeah. It's pretty close every time. Yeah. You got to get a good push. And so I think that covers everything for
All right.
Avalon Beach and Tanyard.
Thank you, Steve. All right. And Chris?
So my amenity first is the Medfield Complex, and it looks in superior condition for midwinter, especially the new mulch that's at the playground. It's all level and smooth, and it looks fantastic. There was 24 people out there in the park on Saturday. There was mothers and children in that playground. There was a grandmother playing mini golf. There was some teenagers riding skateboards in the skate park. And of course, 4 pickleballers. So Saturday afternoon was busy at the Metfield Complex. It was fun to see. Everyone was having a good time. And the London Park, looking pretty good too, looking real good. You know, there's nothing to report there. The bathroom's all clean. The park is looking good. A couple of folks were out there walking their dog yesterday afternoon. Said they're longtime members. They enjoy going out there. So those 2 amenities are in great midwinter shape. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Chris. On to new business. Deb, do you have any update on the meet and greet? Maybe some new numbers?
March 7th, we've got 24 so far. And California is winning so far on where they're moving from. So, but, and usually we'll next 2 weeks is when we'll start getting more. So I'm very happy with 24.
All right. Thank you. And you'll see there's nothing listed on here. I'd gotten a couple of things. One from Mary, and you had a couple of things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, one of our members reported to me that every morning when she goes to work and she goes down Chelsea going to Reardon, and I believe it was at Abington in Chelsea, there's a flashing crossing for the bikes, and she said it's on every morning. It's like, doesn't turn off. So I drove that way in the afternoon a couple times and it wasn't flashing. So I don't know if it's 8, I believe.
When I go to Zumba, it's usually flashing, which is
About that time.
yeah, it's about that time. Yeah.
So those are controlled by the city, just so people know. I will report it to them and see if they can check it out. I drive that way a lot, and I bike those trails a lot. I do know, as we've talked about this in here before and probably other places, when it's raining, the flashers do go on. Unfortunately, it seems to be, and not if it's just a mist, but if it's any kind of regular rain that goes on. I'm not suggesting that that's the only issue. But I'll report it to the city and tell them it seems to be early in the morning, because I've not noticed it any other time of the day. But I would say other than weekends, I'm not going that way at that time. So it may be some sort of weird glitch about the time of day. So thank you. I'll check into
Yeah, I
that.
believe there's like 4 flashing lights between down the road to the water tower, and the other ones weren't flashing. It was just the one at Abington. So the other thing is I've been trying to do a lot of hiking on the trails, and I think we need to revisit signage. Are they going to add more signage on the trails? I know we got lost on one of them. We thought it would be circling around, and we ended up walking down Chelsea by the water tower all the way back to Papa Mike's. So
the short answer is they have been putting a lot of signs up there, and it just depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about what I will call the wayfinding signs, they're on the 4-inch posts, and those will tell you if a trail splits. For instance, it'll say tunnel vision this way, Tweety Bird this way. Most of those are in place of the trails that are already open. Would we be adding a lot more? Probably not. The trails are designed for longer distances. There may be some loops, however, that they didn't get the posts in yet. Remember, those trails are not, that whole 50-mile Little Sugar is not completely done. But they've got the bulk of those signs up now. So if you have a specific area and you could send me a pin or
Okay.
tell me address, then I can try and check it out. But you're not going to, it's not like hiking Tanyard Creek. It's not like even hiking our trails in Blowing Springs. And it's not even going to be right now like the back 40 loop, where on that 20-mile loop, there are little mile markers like 0.5, 0.1. They're not planning on doing that with Little Sugar, to my knowledge yet, but I will check. You know, because again, most of Little Sugar isn't too far off, quote unquote, the beaten path. But if you have a specific area that you're concerned about,
Yeah,
let me know.
there was one where Premier Dermatology is. We crossed the street there after the golf course and walked all the way, and then it split, and they had a blue sign going to the right, and then another sign to the blue sign to the left, and then to the right. So we went to the right, and it looks like if we would have gone to the left, we might have looped back behind Casano's. Well, we ended up going to the right, and then that took us to Chelsea. So instead of turning around and going back.
So you never got to Papa Mike's?
Well, no, we had to walk. We did, but we had to walk down Chelsea to get there, or continue on the route.
I can take it with you offline. I know those trails really well, but from Reardon by Premier, if you go behind by the bluff line, by the golf course, that'll take you up to Papa Mike's. Then in theory, you would cut through the Kingsdale parking lot, cut over to the back side of the side of Reardon Hall, go up the hill, and then yes, on Chelsea, you can get all the way to Tanyard Creek. You could go left, you could go all the way to the water tower.
Yeah, we walked and walked and walked.
But remember, most of those trails are not 1 mile trails.
Okay.
I mean, even the short beginner trail, which is Tweety Bird, which is down by the bottom of the water tower by Prescott and Chelsea, that loop alone is 1.8. So we're not going to be able to map the whole thing, but if you know where the big kiosks are, and once we officially name trailheads, there'll be maps like what you see back by Blowing Springs where we map out back forward.
So maps will be coming out?
Yes.
Or are they out already?
Yes. No, not for Little Sugar, not official.
And then the other thing, when we were down by Avalon to walk that one, there were some bikers down there. And they were concerned, especially when the beach opens up, parking. Because if the bikers are parking down there and all the swimmers, they said, hey, we have a real concern about where people are going to park.
We're very aware of that.
Oh, okay.
But we're not going to kick out one group over another. I mean, that is a parking lot. We know one day we're going to build a secondary parking lot. That doesn't permit itself because of budgets today. But, you know, right now it's a lot of newness. So we kind of have to see what happens. But yes, we're very aware the beach gets very full on, especially weekends. And we do have the overflow area. We will probably sign that area closest to the bridge and say, you know, reserved for. But it's one of those things where until this evolves and as more trails open, we'll start to see patterns. There is a plan for other trailheads, but not right there.
Okay. And those were my concerns.
Yeah, fair concerns, very
Okay,
fair.
thanks.
Thank you. Let's see, from a new business standpoint, anything else before we move forward? Okay. I had also sent you, a copy of an email that was for us to discuss, but it seems like it's gotten out and gone around a couple of places. So what I'd like to do is, we were talking about our three particular items that we had requested for the 2020 budget, to have some discussions on that. I know that Joan's got some information for us, but from the new pickleball courts to the archery range and the small section of the dog park, and Rick can chime in here too, about what what those updates are, what they mean, some of the reasons why they are what they are, and go from there. And you can also be doing your whole thing. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, since this is being streamed live via Facebook, basically what happened is Tom Judson sent an email to Gary, because he's the chair of this committee, to let him know kind of where the board's at from a budget perspective. And, you know, you have all seen the email, so this is just because of the discussion. You know, Tom had to sort of share some not so great news, which is most of the capital projects are off the table at this point. And it doesn't mean that they're off the table forever. In the email, he references that maybe in June we'll have a better feel about the fact that this assessment did finally pass, but it passed a couple of months later than we thought. So that's 2 less months of income. We've also had a lot of storm damage, unfortunately, that has happened since the budgets were written. Storm damage we weren't aware of, storm damage which was very expensive and our insurance did not cover. Covered some, but not a lot of it. So Tom, in his transparency, just like I am, and Rick will be as well, are just kind of sharing that it's, you know, everybody thinks 2020 passed, great, we're instantly in great financial shape. You know, we aren't. We still have a lot of bills out there. It doesn't take away from what this committee or what those of us that are on management want to do from capital project. We are still very committed to pickleball. We're very interested in supporting archery. We're very aware that the dog park needs to be redone. But at the end of the day, there's only so much money. So it may just take a little longer to build up some of those funds. What Tom suggested in his email is that give the new assessment money and all the things that we kind of talked about earlier, like we don't know, are we going to have to add more classes? We don't know how many more people are going to be coming through the doors, whether it's through the dog park fence or the Branchwood rec facility. We just don't know that. We don't know how many more people are going to be moving here in the next couple of months. So what Tom had suggested, because the board was very torn, they, you know, recognized the financial dilemma, but they also recognized what we were hoping to do for our membership. And so what he's suggesting is he wants the board to revisit it in June, at the June meeting, which is, it sounds like forever away, but it's really not. February's almost over. And then we'll have a better feel of how much more income was brought in because people purchasing photo IDs. We'll know whether or not more people took on leases at the marina. We'll know how many more people purchased golf seats. And all of that is income. And that will help us determine. So I'm disappointed personally. I'm not going to speak for Rick, but I'm sure he is as well. We know what needs to be done, and unfortunately, this is why we needed an assessment increase. So I'm going to go with the motto, patience is a virtue, and I'm not giving up. So I'll pause there and answer any specific questions that I can. And maybe Rick wants to jump in.
Well, go ahead, Rick.
And what kind of made it easier to say no right now for the archery range is that it's going to cost us money to purchase the property that we have been looking at, and we thought it was going to be at least a much cheaper prospect than it is. So we're kind of at square one again on looking at locations. Not that we can't purchase our preferred location at some time in the future, but again, I think the overall feeling is that we're going to hit the pause button and see what kind of money comes in, because everything's different, and it's probably a good position to take to see what we have before we make commitments.
One last thing I wanted to say before Debbie, you get to your question, specifically for Ken, because Ken very much is an advocate for pickleball, and you know, a lot of people come through him with his questions. I wanted to let you know the gentleman reached out today that talked about the Metfield current pickleball courts, and he suggested that they're going to need some resurfacing. We've already assessed that. I knew that was coming. I wasn't planning on building new courts and resurfacing the same year. That's just generally not what we can do. But he also mentioned that the nets need some work. So I've already placed an order. The 3 new nets have been ordered. I know that's not the same as more courts, but I want to let you know that we're aware of situation. We're going to go ahead and get quotes that if, you know, maybe we can't build this year, maybe we do decide to do some resurfacing, repainting or whatever. The courts are not really in that bad a shape. They don't look beautiful, but from a crack repair standpoint, they're not in bad shape like Branchwood courts are, like our tennis courts are. So I just want to let you know that we're on top of it. We're in a kind of a holding pattern or pause, as Rick mentioned, but that doesn't mean that it's forever.
I wanted to mention, so I guess one of the concerns, we appreciate everything you're doing, Joan. I mean, you're doing a great job and everything, but one of the concerns, you know, not sure exactly how the board analyzed all this and everything, but in Tom's letter, he talked about, he mainly talked about the stump dump being the biggest cost thing, and that's the thing that's driving this, is what it sounded like to me. But in the back before the assessment, he advertised that 2 cents out of the 13-cent assessment increase would be for the stump dump. Yeah, 2 cents.
$2.
Or $2, yeah, $2 out of the 13. So we still have $11 to work with, is the way kind of we look at it. So I guess the question is, why is like everything being put on hold when we knew when we knew this beforehand?
I'll try and address that, and it's a good question, Ken. I can't speak, Doug's not here, so I can't speak completely for the stump dump, but what I will say is the stump dump fees continue to come in, and all that was of the 13 was we're going to dedicate $2 towards that because we knew we had a lot of those fees. We didn't know how much of those fees were coming in. We had a good idea. We knew that our court costs and attorney costs would be high, but we didn't know what. The $11 that's left, remember, 6 of those dollars were just to offset, if you will, getting us back to a level by including things like fitness center use free, pools free, beach. So right there, you got 6 and 2, you got $8 away from the 13. There was really only $2 that were originally, and I mean, anybody can jump in that has those numbers right in front of them, but originally, thank you. Oh, I wrote that. But there were $2 that were originally before the second vote that were dedicated to operational costs and capital improvements. Operational costs are day to day, and then that bumped up to $4 with the second vote. So it's not $13. It's not even $11 if you take out the 2. It's $4, but we don't have any of that 4 yet, right? It's February. What is today? 9th. We don't start to get that income until the 1st, and you know, again, I'm very transparent. The board is getting quite a lot of pushback from memberships that wants to see very much a concerted accountability on our overall finances. So they're not necessarily looking out for the dog park, the pickleball park, and or pickleball courts and anything else. They're looking out for the sort of the general. So the board is pressed by their membership on a number of things. This is not an excuse. This is just transparency. The other thing that I will say is, I hope that all the ACHs start rolling in, because right now, as of today, people haven't started to pay their $13. We're going to people and saying, you know, you currently pay this amount of dues, your dues go up, you've gotten the postcard in the mail, but until that money starts coming in, our financial picture doesn't change drastically. So I hear your concern, and believe me, when we send a message and say that we're going to plan for this, that was always the intention. We always are planning for it. It's the work is done, the plans are in place. Now we have to deal with the uncertainty of the financials. I don't want to paint it doom and gloom. I mean, the great news is it passed, and one day we are going to be an upward trend. And I think Debbie had a question for you too, Gary.
One of the things dealing with the archery situation is that we were hoping that maybe Cooper would donate, if that's the correct term, land by the gun range. And according to the memo, Tom said that's off the table. Is it for sale?
From what I understand, they're willing to entertain an offer of equal to fair market value.
And how much land is there?
John mapped out, well, there's a large chunk of land. John initially mapped out about 12 acres.
Okay.
Property in that area goes from anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 an acre. So you can, $1,000 an acre, sorry. Maybe that's a square foot price. But you can do the math real quick and see that it's not a small chunk of change there.
Okay. So basically, the Cooper Corporation has said that they are not willing to work with us other than fair market value.
They seem to be moving away from the long-term leases for cheap money.
Okay.
On here, and that 12 acres that we looked at, that's not necessarily, that's just a logical parcel. That's what's between the two ranges. That's not necessarily what we would need, just to be clear.
All right. Anything else? Well, Joan, do you have anything else from the...
I guess I would just say stay tuned. Tom is very good about trying to keep people updated as things go along. And for him and the board, every month's different too. But I would say maybe keep June in the back of your mind, as that would be a great board meeting to attend. I shared that with somebody that reached out to us today via Ken. And if anything changes, Tom will keep us abreast. But, the board needs to hear from people. So that's why there's a public forum at the beginning of every meeting. And so the February meeting, just FYI, is going to be held at Reardon, because we're expecting a number of folks to come out to talk about things that they're interested in. But for now, June is probably when he's going to try and get it back to the board to take another look. The last thing I will say is budgets. I can't tell you how many times I've cut budgets this year. And this was early on. This was when we were doing pass and fail. This is when it failed the first time, and it was since it passed. And Rick can speak to what he's had to do as well. And Judy, in marketing, they have cut. There's not one group that hasn't gone back multiple times, and tough decisions have to be made. And in a lot of cases, it's we don't know what we don't know right now, right? So the great news is it passed. We know we needed the financial support, another assessment. The other great news is, as many members wanted, members first. So we're listening to the members. The other great news is there's lots that is included for the activity card, but we don't know what we don't know. We don't know how much demand is going to go up. I personally lay awake at night and think about equipment, because the bottom line is most of the equipment in the POA is older. We've got brand new weight equipment at Branchwood, but brand new is now a year and a half old. I've got a lot of fitness equipment at Reardon that's not that new. And as usership goes up, demand goes up, and repairs go up, and breakdowns happen. I've had to cut equipment out of my budget. And that equipment was to replace some stuff that was old, pass or fail. We would have done it anyway. And some of it was, hey, I'm going to have more people. I'm going to have to keep equipment going. So I have been doing budgets in the recreation, fitness, wellness space for 30 years. And I've worked for not-for-profits. I've worked for profits and everything. And I would say probably I've gone back to the well as much as I ever have in my career. So that's not gloom and doom. It's just reality. And this too shall pass, right? We'll get through this. So I hope you can think positive, even though right now it may not feel very good.
Joan, can you explain about the Silver and Fit? Or Silver Sneakers, either one, how it's going to work?
Sure. So let me explain and then jump in if I'm not addressing what you're asking. And are you okay with me kind of alluding into my report? Because there's some crossover.
That would be fine at this point.
I'm not trying to dominate, I promise. But one of the things I was going to start with on report today, and kudos to Jessica because she helped organize a lot of it. We just spent Saturday morning with all of our front of house teams, the Branchwood front of house team, the Reardon front of house team, the Metfield front of house team, and we've got a lot of other front of house teams. But those are the ones that, starting March 1st, are really going to have to deal with a lot of these questions about Silver Sneakers, Silver and Fit. How do I get to use a fitness center for free? Hey, what's going on with those pools? When do they open? And we had a great group that turned out Saturday morning, gave up their time Saturday morning to come in for training. And we went through 4 pages of FAQs, and some of them were exactly about Silver and Fit and Silver Sneaker. We went through some tough things because, unfortunately, with all these new changes, we're going to have to toe the line a little bit more. We're going to have a little bit more framework around it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to manage through. That means you don't bring in a card, you're not getting in for free. You can pay a day pass or you can run back and get your card, but you're not getting in. And we've leaned forward over the years because customer service is important to us, but now there's got to be kind of a balance. And so, but Silver Sneakers and Silver Fit, some of the feedback that we've been getting from people is they don't fully understand. So again, if I'm boring you, you know all this, I apologize, but just to give anyone that might be listening on Facebook that are out there going, what the heck is Silver Fit? What is that, a hair color? So Silver Sneakers and Silver and Fit are 2 insurance-based programs that the POA has long been a part of. And it can be, depending on who your insurance is, it can be Humana, it can be United, whatnot. But if they offer that program for their insured, they have facilities all across the country and world, actually, that are Silver Sneaker or Silver Fit designated facilities. And the premise is healthier people cost insurance companies less. They want their insured to be healthy. And so, as part of their insurance plan, they can be members of these facilities, of which we have 3 facilities that are Branchwood, Metfield, and Reardon. Silver Sneakers has been around longer than Silver and Fit. They have a lot more framework to their program. And they have specific classes that you must offer to even be designated as a sneaker facility. They have training that they provide, their instructors. They have a lot of behind-the-scenes framework. And we have to uphold that in order to be part of that program. On the back end, we are paid by them for their users to a certain degree, which I'll get to in a minute. Silver and Fit, then, is similar, little less framework. They're sort of lack of a better framework, they're kind of a Walmart. They're more about a little less framework, but still want their people to be healthy and well. And so they have a little broader definition of what classes you can utilize, etc. So some people, members, have come to us and said, hey, if I have a photo ID, I'm going to get into your fitness centers for free. Why do I need Silver and Fit and Silver Sneaker anymore? Well, the short answer is you don't if you don't want to do classes. Jess, I don't know. If we had to guess, I would say it's probably at least 60-40 of all our Silver Fit members and Silver Sneaker members are attending classes, would you say? Yeah. Somewhere in there? Again, I'm guesstimating. So if those people want to continue in the manner they are today, then they need Silver and Fit or Silver Sneaker. They need to scan that. We will allow them into those classes for free. We will continue to offer those classes. If they just want to work out and they just want to use their photo ID card and they never want to use Silver Sneaker card again, technically that's true. But the verbiage that we've heard from some people, and maybe this is where you're going, Debbie, isn't that double dipping? Because you're getting paid with that photo activity card, photo ID or activity card, and then you're also getting paid by the insurance company. I don't see it as double dipping at all. Because again, we only get paid for so many visits per month from those insurance companies. Once those people, and I could tell you this, I love Silver and Sneaker and Silver and Fit people. They're the Mary Hennings of the world. Are you Silver Sneaker? Silver and Fit? Okay, bad example, but they still are the Mary Hennings of the world. Mary, I see Mary on a regular basis, not just because she's on the rec committee. She's an avid user. And a lot of Silver and Sneaker and Silver Fit people, they don't just come twice a week. They come 4 or 5. And I can guarantee you that after, basically it averages 2.2 visits a month, 2.5.
Yeah, and 10.
10
You get
visits
paid for
over
10
the month.
visits.
But if they're coming 2 times a week, we're getting paid for it. If they're coming 4 times a week, we're not getting any additional funds. So here's why it's not double dipping. 1, classes aren't included with your photo ID. We're running specific classes and have specific training and have to pay for training for our instructors who run Silver Sneaker classes, which most Silver Fit people come to. And then again, back to the analogy, it's not an analogy, I apologize, the definition of the $13 that I shared earlier. Just because you have a photo ID card, not all that money is going to offset use of the fitness centers. It's going to offset the decrease in golf fees. It's going to offset the decrease in the marina fees on leases. It's going to offset the use of free pools. Outdoor pools are not Silver and Fit. They are not Silver Sneaker programs. Those are not approved facilities. It's going to offset a number of things across the POA. Only a portion of it is going to offset the fitness centers. And again, we don't know what we don't know. I would like to think that if we had 100 Silver and Sneaker and 100 Silver Sneaker and Silver and Fit, say that 10 times fast. You can't do it. If we had 100 of those people in the program today, and I can guarantee you we have way more, but just for simple math, if we had 100 in them today, and because the 2020 plan passed, and those people stopped using the program because they're using their photo ID card and they were going to buy that anyway, I can't guarantee in a year from now, Silver Sneakers, Silver Fit might come to us and say, you know what, all that we do for you behind the scenes, that equipment we give you, free chairs that are specific so they don't slide on our floors, dumbbells, music, all the admin stuff that goes on behind the scenes, they may say, you know, you went from 100 people to 10 people. It's not worth it. We're not going to approve you as a facility. I don't know that verbatim. I'm just trying to be transparent. This is how my brain has to work with all of what's going on. So I'm going to pause there. Jessica has something to add, I think. But Debbie, am I getting to the meat of what you're asking? And am I making sense?
Yeah, for point of clarification, Silver Sneakers and Silver and Fit are for Medicare recipients only. So they do not apply to people under 65. So just
correct.
For clarification.
Correct,
Okay.
unless there are very few, but if you're on disability. There are a few people on disability who do receive Silver Sneakers that I know of. But yeah, and Debbie, it's a good question, and I've really been we're trying to educate people, because we're not saying we're putting the information out there and letting you make your decision. If you come into the facility and you only work out and you do nothing else, don't do any classes, you don't golf, you don't eat, I feel bad for you. But you know, maybe it's not worth it for you to get an activity card, but but most people do other things. So if you're going to benefit from that, we're just putting the information out there and trying to let everybody make their decision. And a lot of people, especially with Silver Sneakers, have all those perks. Every time they scan their card, they get a perk. And so they want to scan their card so they can get the gift card at the end of the year, or I think they get some money off of doctor visits.
Well, plus with Silver Sneakers and Silver and Fit, you can use facilities all over the United States too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, for clarification, if you have the Silver Sneakers or Silver and Fit, you can be in the exercise programs without a cost because your insurance is reimbursing. But to use a facility, on other days, you have to have a photo ID now?
If I have Silver Sneakers and all I want to do is go in once a week and work out, or go in 5 times a week and work out and don't do any classes, I don't need an activity card. Silver Sneakers and Silver and Fit are going to get you into the facilities no matter what.
Okay.
Same as right now. If you've got that, you're covered to go in.
Okay. Right. I thought I
answer
was
that?
hearing that they could participate in the classes because their insurance company is paying for it.
That is Yes. true.
But then they'd have to use the facility on off times, they'd have to have a POA
No,
photo card.
no, they do not. They do not. They can come in at any time.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm understanding. So, I gave a lot of information, so if I confused you, I apologize. They have 2 options to get in the facility for free. It's not free, right? Because if they're Silver and Fit or Silver Sneakers, they're paying for an insurance supplement. Or they're buying a photo ID or bought a photo ID that still hasn't expired that'll work exactly the same as the new activity card. So either one of those will get them in the door to those 3 facilities. Only one of them gives you the free classes, so that's only 2 of them, Silver and Fit and Silver Sneakers. And then, to your point, if they're not coming to a class, and it's a 3rd day of the week, let's say they came to 2 classes, am I following you? So they are Silver Sneaker, they came to 2 classes, but the 3rd day of the week, they want to just come and work out. They still got to show us something to get in the door, but we can't force them whether it's Silver Sneakers that they show us or photo ID. One or the other will work. Does that answer kind of where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
know it's trust me, we are, and our people are good, but they're asking all these questions. That's why we spent an hour and a half Saturday training, but we did role playing and everything because it's a lot to know.
So yes, their insurance card will cover their POA card.
For Silver Sneakers, you have a Silver Sneakers card.
members.
Silver and Fit, scan your photo ID activity card or just a regular paper membership, and that it lets
Yeah.
us know that they're Silver and Fit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Let's see. Let's move on. Rick?
Okay. We had some good news at the gun range. John's been, his classes have been very busy, as you mentioned earlier, and it looks like our February is going to beat our previous all-time high for the month. Wanted to, I believe John let Jessica know last week that we have selected a second gun range attendant that will allow us to be staffed 6 days a week. That will cut down on the traffic going to Branchwood, which has been a concern. But that won't be official until the end of the month when the board votes. But we've got someone in place that can start the very next day.
That's
So that'll be a good help there. John, you have anything else you want to say about the gun range?
You guys, if you go out to the trap and skeet range, it is on, right? You guys can hear me. If you go out to the trap and skeet range, you'll start to notice we're doing some really low-hanging fruit type remodels. We've replaced the lights in there. They were actually purchased last year. We were just waiting for a slower time of the year to get that in. You'll also see new windows that are coming piece by piece as time kind of allows. We obviously can't do that when the weather's bad, but as we kind of get funds and as time allows for us to put in the things that we've already bought, you'll start to notice, small incremental improvements at the trap and ski range.
And we spoke about the archery situation earlier as well. That's not a dead issue. It's just on pause for now. The Lake Ann drawdown, as we heard, is kind of a yo-yo pattern there with the rains. We've got our two 12-inch valves open as wide as we can. Currently, we're down 50 inches. Some of the work that needs to be done requires the lake bed to dry out. There's a gentleman that wants to dredge the back of his cove, and it was down for about a month some time ago, but it didn't dry out enough for him to do his work. So we're trying again. We're going to go till mid-March. We could potentially go to the end of March, but we can't really go any further than that. Then we're going to have to let the lake come back up. We will potentially revisit Lake Ann next fall, depending on how much work is yet to be done. At our lakes, I'm sorry? We may lower it again in the fall of 2020. Yes. In our fisheries department, we continue to stock trout monthly at the beginning of each month. So the February trout stocking will happen real soon, and we're about to move our blue catfish to the lakes that have been in the golf course ponds over the winter, and we'll be readying those ponds for saugeye fry again this spring. That's the main points.
Thank you.
And Gary, real quick, I just wanted to point this out. I keep forgetting to mention the Wayfair sign at Branchwood outside there. We're going to go ahead, the POA is going to go ahead and remove that, and it'll be removed by next Friday, and then working with the city, I'm behind the scenes on how that's going to get replaced. But we're going to go ahead and remove it since it's, all right, sorry.
All right.
I'm going to pick back up because I wasn't done. That was just my major thing.
Oh.
Yeah, you thought you were getting out early. Rest of mine will go quick.
Sure.
Okay, so the Valentine's dance was just shared by Mary. I think we had 150, and Kathy reports that they all like to drink. So we made a little revenue on alcohol. No, it was a great time. Kathy does a great job with it. The band, loves to play for the people, and people were dancing. I have to tell this cute little story. So Saturday, I happened to take some time and go and get a pedicure. No, it was Friday night. I went and got a pedicure. And I go down by Allen's, and I walk in there, and there's this cute man in there, and he's getting a pedicure, and I hear him talking to the girls, and then he goes, he's probably, if I had to guess, in his 70s, 75, and he goes, yeah, now I'm going to be ready to dance tomorrow. So he was getting all gussied up because he had a date for the Valentine's dance, so I thought it was pretty cute. The next event that's happening at Reardon Hall is the Marty Haggart concert, a tribute. His son plays sort of his dad's songs and then some of his own, and we did it last year. It was very, very popular, and so they're coming back, and that's coming up in March, 6th. Thank you, Mary. I have that right in front of me. The marina is opening on Tuesday, March 17th, limited hours. We are not going to open the marina on Mondays this year. Budgets and demand, we learned a lot last year, but just like Rick's doing at the gun range, we're going to be a 6-day-a-week operation. Huge fall off after the weekends. So we will be open starting Tuesday the 17th. We'll be open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Weekdays, and then weekends will be open 9 to 5, and starting May 1st, we'll go to longer hours, which I'll share at a future meeting. We are gearing up for summer and spring programs. We have tennis camps on the docket. We have swim team on the docket. We have swim lessons. We have paddleboard camps. And I think Mary mentioned earlier that the craft fair is coming up on April 18th. That is a same day. We parlay that with the summer registration day. So that's the day when everybody can come in and start to sign up for our swim lessons and camps and all of that. I just want to give compliments to Jessica, who managed a pretty significant overhaul for Branchwood Pool and Spa and Hot Tub. And as mentioned, we always run into a few challenges along the way, no matter what best intentions we had. But I think the place looks great. The contractors did a good job. There's a lot of cleanup after that work. There's the work, and then there's the cleanup after that work. But Jessica did a great job, and we had a number of our rec team members working weekends to make it happen. So kudos to them. Also, Jess has gotten in a couple of new pieces of fitness equipment. Just so you know, we only have so much floor space, so sometimes we rotate out equipment. That's the norm in the fitness industry. You should be constantly rotating out equipment and bringing in new so that you don't have all your equipment going down at the same time. We have been truly blessed with the POA. The fitness gods have looked down over us over the years, and they have made a lot of our equipment last for a very long time. To the point that some of the equipment on the floor, if I wanted to rebuild it tomorrow, I can't get parts. There's no such thing as vintage fitness equipment. It's not like a vintage car. It's not a cool thing to hold on to a piece of equipment after 20 years. So what sometimes happens is our people love their equipment, and they see their piece walking out the door. You're not getting rid of that. It's my favorite. Well, sometimes we have to make tough decisions. We're not just willy-nilly going, we're going to take that out. Usually it's because of the age of the equipment, and we can no longer get parts. Or if we can get parts, they are so cost prohibitive, I can buy a new piece of equipment. So anyway, new equipment on the floor at Reardon this coming week, last week at Branchwood, and nothing at Metfield yet. Trails, Trey's working hard on the trails. The rain has not been kind to the trails, but we're still seeing a ton of people out there. Thank you for the heads up on the light. I will check into that. We're doing something new at Branchwood. Not at Branchwood, at Blowing Springs. This was actually Tom's idea. He got when he was traveling. But we're doing a roundup for trails. We're asking people as they pay for their stays at Blowing Springs whether they'd like to round up to the next dollar amount to have that money donate to trail maintenance. Now, it's brand new. We've only had 5 people take advantage of it so far. But I know my weekend person was asking this weekend, and so far, guess how much we've raised? $1.94. Come on, let's hear it for. Oh, okay. Hey, it's new. It's cool. It's gonna be good. It's $1.94 we did not have before that. Anyway, I think it's pretty cool. We're also gearing up for the Cancer Challenge, which is the first week in June, and a lot of facilities across the POA are involved in that. Golf, the tennis center, Reardon Hall, et cetera, et cetera. Rick, do you have some involvement?
Gun range.
Gun range is involved, so yep. So we're gearing up for that. And Chris, you mentioned that you noticed the change in the mulch on Metfield Playground, which is our biggest playground. We did that. We also did the Branchwood Playground. We need more for the beach, and we'll get that done before the beach opens. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you so much to Rick and John, really, for taking the gun range. Not that we didn't love it at Branchwood, but for really getting on that. I really appreciate that.
All right, thanks, everyone. Judy.
Just a couple of things. So, well, of course, it's the quarter, so the spring magazine will be out the 1st of March. So it's a busy time for us. The spring is like the busiest magazine for some. I think people kind of relax in January, and then in February decide, oh, well, okay. And so we're under crunch time. We started working on a project last fall at Tommy Lee's request to investigate and work to see if we could possibly be considered by the National Parks Register as a historic site here at this building. And so we did the preliminary application process, which is pretty intensive. There's a lot of information they want, and the criteria is somewhat stringent. We did pass the first part, and then the State of Arkansas Heritage Foundation came 2 weeks ago and did a walkthrough, and we received a letter on Friday that we have passed the state criteria. So our next step will be to go to the National Park Service and present our case to them, and that will we'll probably have an appointment for that in August. So it's progressing. So I think it's a real honor, and it will be really great to have that distinction here at the Country Club. It's well deserving. So that's what I got.
The last thing I want to see if Judy wants to share about is all the work that they've been doing behind the scenes to help market and alert our members about all the upcoming changes, because as we mentioned, we're going to have a more guidelines and framework around some of the things we do. So I don't know if you want to share any of that.
Well, I think that, marketing, you don't realize on the surface that every single piece of paper or sign or announcement or e-newsletter or advertisement or fee schedule or registration form, all of those things go through our department. And when we have a major change like this, it is a huge amount of management and change, and just almost like trafficking the work to make sure it gets done in a timely manner. And I think our designer, Tim, if you know him, what he calls it is whack-a-balls, where you're sitting and just, okay, so right now we're definitely under control and getting things done, but it is a whack-a-mole situation, so we're putting our time in. Thanks, Joan.
Yeah, and that's important because we're trying to get out ahead of March 1st, trying to let people know what all the changes are so that when they come in, they're not surprised, but there's still a lot of people that aren't really familiar with what's going to change and what's already happened. And so we work closely with marketing, but they're working their tails off to help, and we'll get through the next couple of months. Thank you.
Deb, you had something?
One of the things I wanted to mention is our quarterly meet and greet normally would have been in February, but kudos to the country club. They were booked every weekend. So we moved our meet and greet to March. So that certainly says something for the use here at the country club. And I was thrilled to move it to March. So I thought that would be great. Also, obviously the Democrat Gazette, many of you may know it's no longer going to be printed later this year. And I did call, and the Vista will continue to be in print. So I think that speaks well for Bella Vista if people are familiar with the Vista and how it has a lot of local information and local news. So, but the Vista will continue to be in print for now.
All right, anybody else? I will say one thing that's going to help this location as well is if we get national recognition for this building. I mean, people will be coming here to eat. People will be coming here to do just about anything, to the pro shop and whatnot. So a good potential source of additional revenue for the POA. Yes?
One more, I'm sorry. We work on the weekends to keep the Welcome Center opens on Saturdays and Sundays, and twice I've had architects come in because they had heard that this was a Fay Jones building. And so that will even be more proof of the need. If we can get this designation, it would be fabulous. But, you know, twice in about 6 times, that's pretty good to have architects walk through to hear that it was a Fay Jones building. And the flyer in there is fabulous. The one that we've got, it just explains about the relationship with Fay Jones. So anyway.
All right, so, Jan.
On that same subject of volunteers on the weekend, I still need a couple of volunteers. If anybody has a little bit of time every 5-6 weeks to come for 3 hours on Saturday or Sunday, or know someone who might want to donate that time to help the community, I'd appreciate. And you've got my email, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. I won't extend it any longer than you guys. You guys have worked really hard on this. Kudos to you guys. I've worked for a municipality. I've managed a small theater. I've worked in the Parks and Recreation Department before in Florida. Unfortunately, I did it from 2004 to 2008. And what you guys are doing, having to deal with budgets versus capital versus operations versus reality, is really tough. From 2004 to 2008 in Florida, there were, you could go try to apply for a stocking position at a Home Depot and there'd be 40 people for the one position. The economy was just not good. Kudos to you guys because you're working really hard at it. I appreciate that. I love seeing that. Part of my platform is going to be that we do have a perception problem right now with the POA. The board does. Your transparency and the things that you guys do and the things that you're bringing to the table, I think are going to help that. And I appreciate everything that you guys do. Great explanations on how you've done that. I do have one question. Has anybody ever approached the fact, especially on capital budgets, where you're having to cut back on capital budgets, doing individual fundraisers for a specific capital project you might have? We did, of course, the economy was a whole lot different in Florida at the time when I was working there and I was in the public sector like that. But we did a lot of those where we were using just kind of small fundraisers to kind of offset some of those so that we could get some of the capital stuff done. But that's all I had.
I would say the short answer in my tenure here, going on 4 years, is no. It's been brought up. It's been discussed. We've even looked at things like, sponsorship on golf course or disc golf and all that could help, raise some of the money. And there's varying reasons why some of that hasn't happened. But I would say it's a great thing that you bring up again, and it may need to be relooked at. I appreciate that.
We've just, in the past, I've experienced with it and done with it, and it's helped offset some of those.
We have,
but the money's coming. It's not here yet.
Yeah.
So I understand all.
We have discussed that relative to. We have some pretty old mini golf courses that need some work, and we've talked.
Right.
That's putting it mildly, right? So that's one of those things that we talked about. How could we designate some money towards that? We even talked about doing some, charity golf things that would that the money would go to that. So the concept has been floated. Probably more to be done on that.
Well, terrific job, people. Thank you. Appreciate your work.
Thank you. I don't know if I should say this, but anything else? Oh, see? Wait a minute. You must have to go do a class. All right. If there's nothing else, our next meeting is going to be March 9th here at 4 o'clock in the Country Club. And do I hear a motion to... Oh. All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.